this whole idea that the little guy with no money or very little money and no audience, but he has something of value that he would like to say. That guy actually gets a voice, for the first time in history. And there's people out there. There will be enough people who want to hear him that if you offer something of value, you'll make a really nice living out of it.
Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I've ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity training trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and how you can get $1,000 off software licensing when you place an order, that's right guys, $1,000 off, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $1,000 off software licensing when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. This podcast is brought to you by HitUni.com. HitUni.com are a provider of amazing online courses for high-intensity training qualifications. HitUni comes highly recommended by the best in the field, including Body by Science co-author Dr. Doug McGuff, Discover Strength CEO Luke Carlson, and trainer and founder of Bay.com, Drew Bay. It was founded by my friend, author, and longtime personal trainer Simon Shawcross, who's also been a guest on the podcast. Simon has 15 years experience training clients and has supervised over 15,000 high-intensity training workouts. Using knowledge from experts like Skylar Tanner, Dr. James Steele, Dr. Ellington Darden, HitUni is a goldmine for learning everything to do with high-intensity training. The courses are delivered online through the website, where you can learn via a variety of multimedia materials at your own pace. There's online support and a discussion forum where you can share ideas and ask for help. To learn more about high-intensity training and improve my own results, I started their personal trainer course. The content is amazing, the courses are really easy to follow, and each section is organized into bite-sized chunks that give you a real sense of achievement after you complete each one. I should also mention there is a DIY course. So this is the course for you if you're not necessarily a personal trainer, but you want to learn more about high intensity training and how to implement it for maximum benefit in your own exercise regime. To get your exclusive Corporate Warrior 10% discount on any course you purchase, simply head on over to hituni.com, that's HITUNI.com, and enter the coupon code CW10, that's CW and the number 10. So again, head on over to hituni.com, pick your course, and enter the coupon code CW10 for 10% discount. Thank you for your support. Hi guys, I am Lawrence Neal and welcome to another episode of Corporate Warrior, the podcast that teaches you how to optimize your high-intensity training protocol and your HIIT business to help you achieve your health, fitness, and business goals. My former guests include people like health and fitness giants like Ben Greenfield, muscle hypertrophy experts like Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, former athletes like Tony Jeffries, Gary Torbs, Luke Carlson, Mark Sisson, Dr. Doug McGuff, and many, many more. My next guest is Pete Sisco, who joins me for a part 2. If you want to check out part 1, which is focused on his training protocols, go to corporatewarrior.org. Pete is the developer of the ultra-brief, ultra-intense method of muscle building called static contraction training. He's authored and co-authored 6 titles published by McGraw-Hill on the subject of efficient strength training and is a successful online author and publisher of innovative fitness e-products. His training articles and methods have been featured in many mainstream publications, including Men's Journal, Golf, Men's Fitness, Flex, Muscle and Fitness, and others. His exclusive training method is extensively featured in Tony Robbins' Ultimate Edge product, and it's estimated that over 200,000 trainees have used his methods. Pete has had a lot of success building an online business and has literally spent the last 15 years earning all his income online. This has allowed him and his wife to travel the world for the last 10 years, living in over 10 countries and pretty much doing whatever they want. His main focus now is helping people create online businesses and portable income streams to enable them to be free of location and spend their time on what they love. I wish I'd come across Pete's work a long time ago when I was trying to figure out how to start my own business. Pete has proven his online business model in several markets, including high-intensity training. So I think he is perfectly positioned to help high-intensity training enthusiasts like yourself turn your passion into a living. So in this part 2, we focus completely on online business. We go in depth on his program, safelyleavetheratrace.me, which is the most excellent domain I've ever heard, where he provides online courses and one-on-one mentoring at a very competitive price. We discuss the opportunity online for HIIT enthusiasts and personal trainers, how to select the right tools in terms of things like membership sites, email providers, sales page providers, etc., and much, much more. Now, because I'm a complete idiot, I forgot to switch my mic on till the second half of this interview, so Skype defaulted to my inbuilt Mac mic. So my audio is not as loud or clear as it would normally be. However, it's still pretty good, and thankfully, Pete does most of the talking, and his audio is very, very clear. So you can imagine I recorded 2 episodes back to back, so 4 hours of audio, and realized at the end of the second episode, or second half of the second episode, that the mic wasn't on. So I literally wanted to pretty much burn my house down, and I was very upset, but the show must go on. For all of the show notes and links for this episode and all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.org. And don't forget to hang around at the end for my free ebook and how you can also get access to my amazing weekly emails. And now I give you Pete Sisco on business. So, Pete, welcome back to Corporate Warrior. It's great to have you back on my show again.
Thanks, Lawrence. It's great to be here, and thanks for asking me back.
You're welcome. And how are you doing today?
Doing great, and we are both in stormy Ireland right now, so we didn't even have to adjust our time zones to talk to each other.
It's refreshing to have to be able to record an episode earlier in the day for that reason. So,
right.
So one thing I want to do is before we move on is I want to just say to listeners, this is going to be obviously focused on business, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for people that are interested in starting high intensity training businesses or other online. And we started talking about this a bit in part 1 at the end, and we kind of have some context there. So I just want to encourage people to listen to that after this to get a little bit more context on your background, because we're going to kind of dig more into your current focus and the tactical stuff. So just to start then, for people that are sitting here listening to this and going, I want to start a business online, but I think it's too late. I should have started in 2001 or 2005 or whatever. What do you think about that?
No, I'll tell you, I was an early adopter. I had a website in 1996 was my first site, and I monetized it a little bit before that and saw a little bit of money and didn't get serious about monetizing until 2001, when I made a surprising amount of money that continued to grow. But the reality is, if you think of how many people you know personally who make all of their income from an online business and have all of those freedoms where they can live anywhere they want in the world, and they have no boss and they make their own schedule and all that great stuff that people hear about. If you think of how many people you actually know personally in your own circle of friends and relatives, it's always a low number, and often the number is zero. So it's still early days. It is still early days for all of this, and it's the invention of the automobile, and we're past the Model T and we're at the Model A, but what's coming in terms of the personal empowerment that owning and controlling your own source of portable income affords is I really think it's it's going to change the trajectory of society. Not to overstate the case, but the Industrial Revolution it changed society because it drew people out of the agricultural small towns and villages, and people went to the cities because that's where the good employment was, and that had all kinds of social effects that we still feel today. That's how significant socially the Industrial Revolution was. And I think that this, internet revolution and the empowerment it gives to the individual is equally powerful. And ironically, it mostly goes in the other direction. Now you don't have to live in the city and commute to a job that you maybe don't like very much. You could actually make more money and live anywhere in the world. So that's pretty significant. And it is very early days. And by any metric, if you measure the GDP of a country and then you measure, what percentage of that GDP is conducted online, it's always a small number. It's always a small percent.
Really?
So the upside is going to continue for a long time, decades.
I just came off another podcast a couple of hours ago with a close friend of mine, Simon Shawcross, who's the founder of a high-intensity personal training company called hituni.com. And we were joking about saying, because he started, I think, in 2011. And I said, there's going to be people in 2030 who are going to be like, I wish I got started in 2025 or 2020,
Yeah, exactly. Everything's relative. And you could apply that to anything. There'll be people saying, I wish I'd bought property in central London in 2017 when it was a bargain.
Yeah. Good point. This concept, portable income, can you elaborate on that?
Well, that to me is the really powerful element of having an online income. It's you can have a good job and make $100,000 a year with in a secure company and have a very nice lifestyle. Feel successful about it. But the reality is you're anchored to wherever that job is, and for most people, they don't get moved around too much. They don't get told, next spring you got to move to Cincinnati, but that can happen. But the point is the job itself sort of anchors you to a place, and you can't stray very far from the job. And the difference when you start making $100,000 a year online with a business that you operate and control, the nature of the internet is that you can make that income from anywhere. And not to get into too much granularity here, but you don't even have to make the money. A Hong Kong company can make the money that you own or that you control, or a Singapore company. And so the flexibility that you begin to have because you own and control this source of income, it's life-changing. The flexibility it gives you is phenomenal. And I like to say that mobility is the new wealth. Because when you have the ultimate mobility to move, work anywhere in the world you want. That is a form of wealth that is very significant in today's world. I don't want to turn and divert into political stuff, but my personal view is that a lot of governments around the world are going broke, and they've already started, and I think it's only going to get worse, where they're going to hem the little guy in, the low-hanging fruit, the guy that's easy to get, and they're just they're going to increase his taxes and reduce the freedoms and just generally keep the party going for the guys who benefit from taking money from other people. And there's not much you can do about it when you don't have any mobility. So the guy who makes $100,000 a year and has complete mobility, as far as I'm concerned, is much wealthier than the guy who makes $100,000 a year and has virtually no mobility.
Yeah, I remember Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week described something that was kind of synonymous or similar to this, talking about per hour earnings. How, like, if two people are earning $100,000 a year, but one person is working, a quarter of the time, then obviously that person is far more is wealthier because they have much more time. And sometimes it's really, a lot of people don't think about resources in the way of time, mobility, and money. They just think about money. And I think that can really, really badly affect decision making, if that's all you value.
Yeah, I'm not a person who chases money at the cost of quality of life, and my wife and I have deliberately engineered a life that has the elements that we want the most, and that's again, it's a measure of wealth that is very, very satisfying. And I don't know if I mentioned last time that my wife and I deliberately, after our kids grew up, next year I'll turn 60. So that's the stage in life that I'm at. But a little more than 10 years ago, our kids were all pretty much grown up. And we sold off everything. And this is before things collapsed in 2008. We sold off our house and all the stuff we owned, all the cars, all the crap we'd accumulated, and we had one suitcase each, and we traveled the world for 10 years, and that is a form of wealth all its own. I mean, you can't even put a price on it, really. I mean, that those 10 years, and we're not even done doing that. We've just tweaked it a little bit. We kind of use a hub now, and then we travel out from the hub. But for 10 years, we had no home. We just, we had no home that we owned. We would rent condos and live in hotels, and we lived very nicely for 10 years. But it was a very unconventional way. But I think a way that's going to become more and more common. There are millennials sort of doing versions of that already. Some of our own kids, are living in different parts of the world, and some of them do that with online income. So there are different yardsticks for wealth, and when you get sensitive to that, you realize how you can really improve your life.
Yeah, it's the growth of the digital nomad, isn't it? Which I think is the way that people often describe these types of people that are, not living in one. Well, basically, essentially, what you did for 10 years,
right?
And still do it to an extent, which is traveling the world, no fixed location, and earning income online. I don't think it's necessarily the way of life that everyone wants. I think that's quite clear. I think some people like to be more static, but it's just having the option to do that if you wanted to, and the flexibility, which I think is really cool and really
exactly. And I appreciate that completely, because I've run into people who have that static lifestyle and they're completely happy. And I'll tell you where I ran into a lot of them was in Belize, in Central America. One of our favorite places is an island called Ambergris Key in Belize, in a little town called San Pedro, and it's full of very happy expats that they made one move. They're not nomadic. They moved from Texas or Washington or Arizona, and they moved down to Belize, and they don't continue to move around. They just live somewhere that is really, really desirable to them. And, for an American, it doesn't even have to be out of the country. Key West I've never lived in Key West. I've visited, but it's probably a pretty cool place to live. So maybe somebody just like to go live in Key West, but there's no $100,000 job waiting for them in Key West. But that, again, if you have an online business, you don't even need to worry about that.
Yeah. Here. I completely agree. So you have this business with the best domain ever, safelyleavetheratrace.me, and it's really cool because you're essentially helping coaching people create a business on the side and then transition over to that business, which is obviously a portable income, an online business, and move away from their job and transition over. I think I said this to you before. I wish I came across this, or maybe it wasn't in existence back then, but 8 to 10 years ago, when I was kind of lost, trying to find my own way and trying to find a mentor to help me. Because I think, as you said before, and as you said actually in your sales video, is there's nothing like one-to-one mentoring when it comes to this kind of stuff. So just be really keen for you to elaborate on that service and product and like what people can expect and how it works and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we set up that business because we ended up because of the lifestyle we live when we run into people, they would ask us, well, how do you even do this? How do you live? How does that work? They assume you won the lottery or, you're just independently wealthy already. And the point is you don't need to be. So we would end up explaining to people and, they'd have questions and we'd help them. And we enjoyed doing that and, thought about starting a business doing that, which is what we do. And there's lots of guys out there. There's all kinds of places you can go where they'll sort of like learn to make money online. The little twist that makes us different is we run a fairly small community it's sort of high touch. We will get involved with each individual member to whatever level they want. So they can come in and, there's forums and videos to watch and things like that, like you would expect at other sites. But the difference is they can also actually get on the phone with us and say, well, here's the thing, like my situation is this. And then, the way you would construct a plan, it varies for individuals. There's lots of opportunity out there and you got to pick the right thing. And then it's smart to pick something that is really going to be enjoyable to you. Something that you'd really like to jump out of bed and get busy on every day. And sometimes that takes a little back and forth with somebody who will actually help you with that, and talk about the individual variations. So we actually do that, which is rare. And I'll tell you why it's rare. It doesn't scale. Yeah. So, anybody would tell you, like, I've done very well with this, and I've made a lot of money. I made 7-figure money on this over the years. And anybody would tell you, look, that's a dumb way to do it because there's a choke point there. If you're going to get on the phone and talk to people, you can only do so much of that every day. So, just create videos, create webinars, just like do it on a kind of a mass basis, because that scales beautifully and you make way more money, which is 100% correct. It's just we happen to be in this special category where we actually really like doing it. That conversations like the one you and I are having right now are very interesting to me. I look forward to them, and I like the satisfaction of helping other people, which actually goes to your earlier point about there's other ways to be wealthy. It's not all money, and it's actually a perfect example of how we have done that. It doesn't, I'm at a stage in life where I can pretty much do whatever I want, and this happens to be what I want. So after really thinking about it a lot and identifying it, then that's why I decided to sort of also go into this business.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's a tragedy that most people can't say that. Most people can't say they're actually doing what they want. I know it's difficult for some people in certain situations if they've got financial commitments and other responsibilities, but it's still somewhat sad when someone can't see themselves getting to a place where they can spend their time how they want to, or they don't have the self-belief.
Right.
So I just go on.
And well, I just probably that problem's probably 1,000 years old, and people just had to do what they had to do to get by. But this is part of the reason I'm so excited all the time about what the technology of operating an online business really means, because it's never been so close, and it's the reason I put the words safely in the program. Safely leave the rat race. Well, what do you mean safely? Well, it's because you can continue doing whatever you do now that pays the bills, and on the side, at your own pace, you can begin to systematically construct an online business. And however long it takes, you get it to the point where it's paying a little bit of money, $500 a month, and you keep working on it until it's paying $1,500 and $3,000, and whatever that number is that you need to get to, where you can say, you know what, my online business is now making enough money for me to step away. I could step away from my 9-to-5 job because month after month after month, I know that my online business is now generating that kind of income. And then you just step away. There's never been less risk. And that's really a revolutionary thing, because even 30 years ago, being an entrepreneur, it sort of implied a certain amount of risk tolerance. Actually a significant amount of risk tolerance, even for the guy who he didn't have crazy wild ambitions. He wants to have a coffee shop in his own town. He just wants to quit his job and operate a coffee shop. But when you think about how, you got to find a building and you have to sign a long-term commercial lease, and you got to make leasehold improvements, and you got to make an empty space look like a nice coffee shop, and you got to buy equipment, you got to hire employees and train them, and all of those things. It takes quite a bit of capital to do that, and then you've really got to cross your fingers that you're going to get enough people coming in to buy coffee that it makes the whole thing viable and then lucrative. So that's pretty risky, and that's a small little enterprise. And when you contrast that to what it is today, you can have a business up and running for under $1,000. When has that happened in history? And you have a massive audience for it. There's over 1 billion people that are online and speak English. And whoever's online tend to be fairly affluent because they either own a computer or a smartphone or both. So you've got this very lucrative marketplace of at least 1 billion people who spend trillions of dollars, and they're all accessible to you. I mean, how is that not the most amazing thing that's happened in centuries?
Yeah, it's nuts. You talked a little bit there about the process, about how it starts off with trying to select an idea, ideally something that the person is passionate about. What does it look like after that? So do you have I assume you have kind of a process down in terms of build a website, create some sort of content or e-commerce page or something like that. But how does that look? Could you elaborate on that a little bit with some of your, I guess, case studies or customers or whatever?
You know, there's fundamental steps that you need to go through, but they're all of these wheels have been invented. So there's nothing really intimidating about it, because it's all manageable and it's all been done, and there's no point where you have to take like a giant leap of faith. So the first thing you need to do is just pick amongst the just massive variety of ways there are to make money online, to have some kind of an online business. You could sell patio furniture. You could help other people with some aspect of their business. There are literally thousands of ways that you can make money online and have a business doing that. That's not even questionable, because there's so many people out there doing it already. So you just have to decide what the business is that would be interesting to you. I encourage people to try and find that thing that would be really satisfying to them. So, they've got a business that they're proud of. They want to tell their friends about. They enjoy working on it, and it really gives them a deeper sense of satisfaction that they're doing something that's important to them. And then once you decide what that sort of niche is going to be, then the next thing is just to make sure that you're going to use a business model that is also going to deliver you the kind of freedom, or whatever your parameters are that are most important to you. It makes a difference whether you become a freelancer or you operate a membership site, or you leverage your expertise in something and become a sort of trusted expert that people come to. These things appeal to different personalities, whether you're introverted or extroverted, or what you visualize as being sort of the ultimate way that you spend your time or make your money. So you get your niche and your business model aligned, so it's what you want to do, and from there, it's a simple matter of presenting the business online. There's a number of ways to do that, but most commonly people create their own website, which is, again, a simple thing to do that does not cost a lot of money. It also doesn't have to take a lot of time. You could have a website up in 24 hours for less than $100. It doesn't mean it would do everything you need and have all the functionality that your particular model needs, but it's not a giant step. It doesn't need to be intimidating. And then from there, it's a question of getting people to visit your website that are interested in what you have to offer. And the other thing that's grown up in this whole online environment is social media. And social media is really sort of the 800-pound gorilla of marketing right now, because it has such tremendous reach and such terrific granularity. You can find the exact people you are looking for. You can find left-handed male tennis players that live in Texas and have a household income over $150,000. if that's what you need to find, left-handed male Texans who play tennis and make over $150,000, if that's who you need to find, social media has the ability to put your message right in front of those exact people. So again, the guy with the coffee shop, right? He's back in the day where you had to put an expensive ad in the local newspaper and hope the coffee drinkers in your area would see the ad. But 98% of the people seeing the ad would have no interest in it anyway. So it's another magnificent thing about the technology is that the ability to grow your business is actually at your fingertips nowadays. And when you have those people coming to your site, they're the right people, and you have something of value to tell them, or you have something of value to sell them. It could be a physical product, something they want to buy, and you've got it for them. Then it's just a question of constantly refining that process. More of the right people come and visit your site. More of those people say, well, this looks interesting. Please tell me more. And then more of those people say, hey, you've convinced me. I'll be your customer. That's it. And no matter what your online business is, it really follows those 4 steps. You pick a niche and a business model. You build your site. You attract the right people, and you sell them something that really truly delivers value to them, solves a problem, does something they're looking for, and they are happy to part with their money to get what you're offering. That's again, that's worked for 1,000 years, and those fundamentals are no different online. And and again, the sort of counterpoint to the argument of is it too late? And I think I've already made it clear that it's not too late. But the thing that really makes it an opportune time, a perfect time, is that so many people have gone before us and done all of this that all the tools are there. Everything you need. There's absolutely nothing that you have to invent, and there's no risky leap of faith you have to take. Where, it's like, well, I quit my job. I got no income. I sure hope this works. You don't have to do that. It's brilliant. And like I say, I really think that when the majority of people understand the power of this, that it's going to profoundly change society.
Interesting. So I wanted to get your thoughts on something in particular. So I've been consuming a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk's material recently. He's a very successful entrepreneur and marketer. And then you've got Gary, who will often advocate, work tons of hours. If you want to build a business, regardless of what it is, it takes a lot of sweat and tears blood, sweat and tears, and many years before you can really expect to make a good income. And then you've got other people down the other end of the other side of the spectrum, people like Tim Ferriss and maybe Noah Kagan, who are all about creating business models quickly that make income quickly. And I sometimes think that people read, say, the 4-Hour Work Week, which gives you basically a blueprint, but I feel like it's not as easy as it's made out in that book. I had a friend recently, probably about a year ago, started an online matcha tea business, selling that, through his website, and he didn't make any sales, and he spent hours on it, and none of us really knew. I'm not experienced in that domain, so I couldn't really help him. And he decided to pivot and do something different. So what are your thoughts about that? About I think some people understate the challenge, because it is still somewhat challenging, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think that it's a frankly, I think it's a disservice to people to throw around a term like a 4-hour work week. And Tim Ferriss is a very successful guy, but, my guess is he's successful because he works 60 hours a week. And I know he's been pressed on that. And and what he says is, yeah, you know what? But the 4 hours is stuff I don't want to do. That's the 4 hours. And then the other 70 hours a week that I work, that's stuff I want to do anyway. Well, okay. But, there's an old saying that the people who work 40 hours a week always work for a guy who works 60 hours a week. And, the truth online, what I try to encourage people to understand is that you're building a financial asset here. You are building a cash cow, something that makes you $5,000 a month in today's low interest world. $5,000 a month is $60,000 a year. To make $60,000 a year with $1 million in the bank, if you had just $1 million sitting in the bank, it would have to pay you 6% interest to give you $60,000 a year. And banks don't give you 6% interest. They don't give you anywhere near that. So it's what you're creating is a very substantial financial asset. And you should be methodical about it. You should be careful, have a plan, diligently work the plan. But for heaven's sakes, don't expect something like that to be just ridiculously easy. It just falls in your lap. You just do a few things and the money just starts gushing in because you put your website up today. Oh, my website's up today. Now I'll just stand back and wait for the money to flood in. It's unrealistic. And it detracts, wanting that to happen, it just detracts from how it's sort of unappreciative of how great this revolution really is, for all the reasons that I've already talked about. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to risk a lot of money. You don't have to invest a whole bunch like you do with the coffee shop. This is a way to safely change your life in a very profound way. And on top of that, it offers the portability thing. So you can go put your income, in a lot of cases, you can go put your income in some low tax area so that you keep the maximum of the fruits of your labor. So all of that is absolutely magnificent. To expect to be able to do it with a trifling amount of effort it's ridiculous.
So just to your point, Pete, I think one of the things I really like about creating new content or anything new online, I suppose is content that builds your online presence or business, is I do like the way Tim Ferriss coined it. He said it's like online real estate that appreciates over time, so long as it's obviously good quality. Right. So that's how I think every time I try and do a new podcast, I try and create an episode with someone that's better than the one before, and that's going to have loads of value in the blog post as well, so that it sits there online and it gains popularity over time. And that's kind of what my focus is, and that's kind of my philosophy. I just hope that works out for me long term.
No, it will. It has to. If you just pay attention to those fundamental elements, and you put the effort in to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And your podcasts are great. The list of guests you have, you've got a variety of content, but it's still focused on what people who are attracted to your site would be interested in. That's going to pay off. And you're right. It is like real estate that appreciates over time, because all of those links you create, all of those mentions, they continue to send you a trickle of traffic for a long time. And there is an accumulative effect there. And there's also that automatic organic growth. Somebody hears a podcast and they say, that was good. And, I have a friend who would like this. And it's so easy to share the content that it happens. And so you get the advantage of this organic growth that is really a sort of an online form of word of mouth. People share good and interesting content, and helpful content in particular. They share it with other people. And over time, your business builds and builds and builds. And again, the beautiful thing is you own all of it. And just, I can't stress how important that is. I have a term I use called a nano economy. And, basically a nano economy is a billionth of the world economy, which, right. but I took a picture of a thumb drive that was in the palm of my hand. So just, you picture a person's hand with a thumb drive sitting in it. And the sort of miraculous thing is that everything I've done online, the HTML code for the websites, the individual pages, the podcasts that I've created, the e-products that I've created, the e-books or videos or courses, all of those things fits on that thumb drive. It's all digital. An email list of everybody who, first of all, has ever joined my email list, one of my email lists. Also the list of all the clients, all the customers I've had over the years and what they've purchased. That's a market. That's a nano economy right there of people who know me, have interacted with me on some level, and in many cases have exchanged money for something that I offer. That's a little tiny economy in the palm of my hand. And as a matter of fact, because of cryptocurrencies, that thumb drive could also contain an unlimited amount of operating capital in the form of Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. So think of that. I mean, that's, and that goes with me anywhere. It goes with me to Australia or Thailand it's absolutely astonishing. And it contains absolutely everything I need to make a great living. How is that not as revolutionary as the Industrial Revolution? It's astonishing.
It is. And you're giving me I'm just thinking while you're talking there, and I know a lot of the listeners are currently personal trainers. So they're in their studios and they are taking clients through high intensity training workouts. Right. And I just think it's important to say, and I know you agree with this, it's if you love doing that, then that's absolutely fantastic. But what I think is important is if you do want more flexibility and mobility or you don't want to do that type of business, then why not, let's say you're a personal trainer already, video all of your workouts with your clients, so long as you get their permission, and then use that to sell a product that will show people how to properly perform a chest press, for example, or a row. And I just think there's a lot of people aren't necessarily embracing the opportunity to do that. And then, like you say, create some kind of e-product or video course or something, and then put it on a thumb drive. When you say thumb drive, I suppose it's the same as a USB, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a version to putting that stuff on the cloud?
No, I don't. I really just kind of painted that picture of, all held in the palm of my hand, because of how extraordinary that circumstance is. You can't hold your job and your paycheck, for the next 5 years in your hand, and your colleagues and, the brick and mortar place you work, and, all of that stuff is, and always has been, very concrete, very permanent, and immovable. And the fact that you can create an economy, of people who know you and trust you, and will interact with you financially. And you can create it all online. It's all digital, and it's all like completely portable. It's astonishing. And yeah, it could go in the cloud, and it could go in cold storage, and it could be all kinds of safe places. But just the fact that it can exist in that form is absolutely extraordinary. And I think that, many decades from now, this will be completely common, and people will be conscious of the fact that they have their own nano economy. They have a small economy of people who interact with them and generate a livelihood for them, and that's an amazing thing. Now, you brought up personal trainers, which was what brought you and me together in the first place, was the nexus between people that are interested in high intensity training and they're also interested in their own having their own business. And that's me, because when I started out in this, I had a product for, that essentially fell under the category of high intensity training. It was strength training of a particular variety that is engineered to be very, very efficient. So it's not as many workouts as possible. It's as few workouts as possible to get where you want to be in terms of strength and muscle mass. That's sort of the story that I had to tell. And it appeals to a segment of the fitness and weightlifting community that is by no means the majority. But there's enough people that find that an attractive proposition. Wait a minute, I can, less, fewer workouts, the workouts are spaced farther apart, the workouts are short. And the way you suggest doing the exercise is inherently less risky in terms of injury. Tell me more. So there's a segment who want that. And it turns out, in a sort of a global basis, I've sold e-products in over 100 countries. It's more people than I ever need to sell to. Those numbers are massive. And the thing about personal trainers is they have valuable information. And if they get good advice and take the time to craft what they offer, so that it is the perceived value is much higher than, a bunch of free YouTube videos. Because, if you want to know how to do a deadlift, you can go on YouTube and see 500 videos of guys showing you how to do a deadlift. It's hard to make money just doing that. But for example, I work with a guy right now who is a personal trainer, and he has developed a very effective program for alleviating back pain. Well, that offering can be constructed and packaged and presented in a way so that it goes right after those people who are trying to alleviate their back pain. They may or may not be interested in weightlifting, but they are all interested in getting rid of their back pain with an easy, effective program. So there's a personal trainer who is training guys on, how to. It's mostly all weightlifting, but he's positioned it in a way where he's going after a very specific market, again, that he can find. Yeah. So that's the brilliance of that. I don't know how old you are, from our voices, but I remember way back in the day when there were products like, a guy had a thing in the fitness magazines called the 7-minute rotator cuff solution. 7-minute rotator cuff solution. And this is at least 20 years ago and more. There was another one called Legendary Abs. And these were just programs that solved a particular problem. One would allegedly give you legendary abs, and the other one would help your rotator cuff injury problem. And I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure both of those guys made 7 figures on those products. And that's back in the day when they were, I think they were, 20, 30 page sort of booklets. It was a program that you sent away for basically by mail order, and you paid a bit of money for them. They were wildly successful. And those same principles apply right now online, except, now if you had a 7-minute rotator cuff solution, you do it in the form of a video course and a program. And, there might be interaction with somebody, maybe one-on-one if you wanted to do that, or there'd be a program that had some accountability built in. And there were benchmarks and milestones, and your personal trainer would keep you accountable, but it's all done online. There's all kinds of things that personal trainers can do online. They just have to present it a smart way, and not head down those blind alleys where it's too tough to monetize, and it's you can make mistakes, but you don't need to, because there are already people who have blazed the trail.
I know that some people will be listening to this thinking, high intensity training, especially people that I guess are quite purist in their view, are probably thinking that, most people that put out health and fitness products are selling snake oil, and they're not actually that effective. And I probably agree with that. But the thing is that you can take something like high intensity training, and just take the core principles and still create products and services like you just mentioned. But what else? I'm just curious, you've obviously worked with a few people on this, and you've developed your own in this kind of niche. So what ideas, I'm just thinking if we could perhaps give the listeners some ideas in terms of how they could take their interest for high intensity training, diet and things like that, and actually productize that in a ethical way.
Yeah. And ethical is the word, because I'm a believer that you really, like, the way to have a durable business that you can rely on bringing you money month after month, year after year, because that's what's going to allow you to sleep well at night, is knowing that you've got a solid business that honestly delivers value to people, and that you're going to be able to continue doing that. That's the only thing that gives you durable peace of mind, and in fact, durable stream of income. So I'm always careful to steer people towards things that really deliver value in some kind of an obvious way. I use that term that probably you've seen. I can't think of the show, but there's a meme for it. With the guy waving money and saying, "Shut up and take my money." That's basically, you want to get to a point where when you're explaining, look, here's what my personal training service, here's what my diet and weightlifting service or weight loss or whatever it is, here's what it will do for you. And here's why it works, and I guarantee it, and I'll give you your money back, and all of those things. You want the guy to get to the point of going, wow, that just shut up and take my money, because I can see the value in what you're doing. So you're always trying to get to that point. And as I said, the rotator cuff guy, that's a way to do it. The legendary abs, the solving a back pain. And I would always encourage a personal trainer to leverage what they're good at. And that's where it gets down into the granularity of the individual. There are going to be trainers who love everything about the business except dealing with people one-on-one, but there's going to be other trainers who that's what they like most about the business. So you would want to deliberately engineer something that played to your strengths and played to what you enjoy. And that's what I encourage people to do. And I really, there's almost no end of what you can do. That particular niche we're talking about is referred to as an evergreen niche. And what they mean by evergreen is it's not really very seasonal. There at any month of the year, there are people who want to lose weight. Any month of the year, there are people who want to gain muscle. And there are lots of them. And if you can provide a product or service that will help them do that in an effective way, and it's good value for the money, then you're going to have a viable business.
What if someone, let's say, I'm just trying to pick a scenario to help the listeners a little bit more. What if someone is, let's say, passionate about high intensity strength training, and I know that they might be thinking, okay, I want to start an online business in that, but they look around and they look at, some of these other websites out there and they can see, oh, hang on, so-and-so's already done a body weight high intensity training manual. So-and-so's already done weightlifting. Like, what? I don't want to just copy everyone else. I want to create something new. Or do you think that, there's, as long as you put your own stamp on your own personality into it, that it doesn't matter if you actually create something that's very similar to someone else's. Like, how do you mentor people around stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a common way to look at it, but and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it's kind of an amateur way to look at it. It's when you're not experienced in evaluating a business opportunity, that might be a way that you would look at it. But if you think of retail establishments, Burger King doesn't go, oh, there's already a McDonald's on this street. Because you're underestimating how big the market is, and it doesn't matter if there's 200 other body weight exercise programs out there. It doesn't matter, especially in exercise, because we're all telling people to do the same thing. You're picking up a heavy weight. That's all it is. For all the years that I've made all the money I've made with my training, I have people doing common exercises about, there's really just about a dozen exercises that are very common. You've heard of all of them: bench presses and deadlifts and lat pull downs. It's all exercises you've heard of. So the fact that the exercises I tell people to do are the same exercises that you've already heard about 100 times, it's absolutely meaningless. The demand is for that final result. I want to get stronger. I want to have more muscle mass. I want to have a bigger bicep. Whatever, those goals don't go away. And there are millions of people that are trying to achieve those goals, and there are ways to reach them. And that's, the fact that other people are already doing it is the good news. It's not bad news. It's good news. If people are already making money doing that, then there's every reason to believe you can too, as long as you pay attention to those fundamentals.
Yeah, so it's not so much the methods. Like you say, the methods could be very similar across different products, different people's products. It's more like everyone, you look at the market and look at specific needs and then address that need with your positioning and your marketing. The actual content could be very similar to someone else's, but there's no issue in that, so long as you're solving that person's problem and bringing a lot of value. Is that fair to say?
That's right. And that crosses overall. There's a lot of there's a lot of attorneys that do the same thing. There's a lot of physicians that do the same thing. But you still need to find one, and you need to you need their services. And it's really no different online. And the other thing that we should stress for the guys that are personal trainers is that because they do it the sort of brick and mortar way, where you got to bring clients into the gym or gyms that you operate out of, and you have to train those clients, you're always dependent on the local economy. And sometimes that doesn't matter. If you're in a city with a thriving economy, then you never really pay attention to the ups and downs. But for other people that are maybe in a smaller community where there's 2 or 3 major employers, and one of those starts to cut back, or 2 of them do, it could be absolutely disastrous to the personal trainer, because that's the only market he has. And the thing about the online world is you can offer a program that helps people get rid of their back pain, and while you're asleep, some guy in New Zealand is buying it. That's a very powerful business model.
It is indeed. And I'm one of the reasons I'm particularly interested in talking about how to help the people in kind of who are very interested in high intensity strength training is I'm, as I'm sure you are, a big advocate of strength training, and particularly HIIT because it's so effective and efficient and safe if done properly. And I was just off, as I was saying earlier, I was on the phone to Simon earlier, who's founder of hituni.com, and he's very focused on helping people become accredited in this type of training. And we often talk about, how do you make high intensity training mainstream? How do you make it big? Because it's always in the background, and all these fads, which are often really not very beneficial at all, seem to take stage, or center stage, I should say. And I actually think that this is how we're going to do that. If people are really passionate about it, start a YouTube channel potentially, or start writing a blog, or focus on, the format or medium that fits your strengths, and start talking about it, because ultimately that is how we're going to have more of an impact on the overall industry and improving the quality of exercise, on an international basis.
Yeah, I actually have not taken the time to look at it that way, in the sense that, I want to operate an online business to improve the world of strength training. But I mean, I would dearly like to do that, because you and I have talked before about some of the deficiencies in the world of strength training, and how there is huge room for improvement and for innovation in particular. So I would like to see all of that happen. I tried to put my little brick in the wall on that subject. But the happy thing is while I was doing that, I made a lot of money. And I also discovered that, that having an online business was an incredibly powerful business model, which I just I sort of backed into that, and that's been the huge eye opener to me, is that this whole idea that the little guy with no money or very little money and no audience, but he has something of value that he would like to say. That guy actually gets a voice, for the first time in history. And there's people out there, there will be enough people who want to hear him, that if you offer something of value, you'll make a really nice living out of it. Absolutely astounding that we live in a time where all of that is true. I just, I've become sort of more of an evangelist for what that does than I used to be for, we really got to do something about the strength training industry, because it's so Mickey Mouse, and, the machines in your gym could have been constructed in the 19th century. It's very difficult to find a piece of weightlifting machinery that's got any silicon in it, that's got a chip, that's got some sophistication, that takes accurate and sophisticated measurements of your output. So I agree with you about the world of high intensity training.
Yeah.
I encourage people who have something positive to try and put a brick in the wall and build up a professional, scientific, innovative industry that does not run on hype and emotion and logical fallacies. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that's cool. What are the most common mistakes you see in people that start your program?
Well, I think one of the things that can undermine people is the thing we already talked about, which is they've been convinced that it's just ridiculously easy to do all this, hardly requires any work, and then it'll throw off just gobs of money, and you sit on a beach and other people do all the work, and it's tough to get some people past that point, when you're explaining to them, okay, well, here's what you do next. It's like, wow, that sounds like work. So I think it's a mistake to think that you're going to have something up and running in a couple of months, and it's going to be making you substantial money with hardly any effort. I think the reality is a better thing. You're actually crafting something deliberately, and you're engineering it every step of the way so it does what you want to do. And it's something that when you're finished with it, you can really be proud of the achievement. I think that's a great thing. There's, like I say, you can make mistakes, but you never have to make them. There's no need to make mistakes because all of this ground is well trodden. People have been making money online now for 20 years. So it's all it's all right there. You just have to carefully go through each step. And that first one of deciding what you're going to do and crafting your vision of your niche and your business model, which I often refer to as finding that North Star. You have to find your own personal North Star that is the vision of what your completed project would look like, what your lifestyle would be, how much money you would be making, how you would live, where you would live, what the business does, what you have to do to keep the business going, what your actual work is on a daily or weekly basis. When you start with a crystal clear visualization of what that is, that I refer to as a North Star, it informs so many of the decisions that you make from there on, where people can sort of get off the path and they start, they find out there's some cool new thing. There's this cool thing that keeps showing up in their Facebook feed, cash flow volcano, and it does all the work. And, you've got a problem with email lists and you got no traffic, and the cash flow volcano, use this. And even if it's just a tool, it's not a standalone system. People get sidetracked with these sort of distractions that appear, and it's because they take their eye off their North Star. They might not really even need a cash flow volcano. They might not need what the cash flow volcano does, which of course is a term I'm making up. I hope no one's ever made that, and I'm infringing on a trademark. But it's the kind of name they give things, that sort of overstates the efficacy of it. And, I can assure you that whatever the cash flow volcano says it does, there are probably 10 or 20 other things that do a similar thing, and many of them better. So you need to keep the focus on what it is you're trying to do and not get distracted by the junk along the way.
I think that's one of the issues today. Is it's not that it's actually very easy to get started now, and so that's no longer the objection. It's not like, or valid objection. It's like, oh, I don't know how to get started. It's like all the tools are available to you. I think that the problem is now paradox of choice. It's like there's so many ways to do everything that people just are inert because they're overwhelmed a lot.
I think so. And the thing is that there's lots of viable ways. So maybe somebody keeps hearing about drop shipping, drop shipping, and they think, okay, I guess that's what I'll do. I'll start a drop shipping business. And again, they didn't have anybody who would kind of help them decide some things early on. A drop shipping business selling what? Or is it something you're going to be interested in? Are you going to enjoy selling toys for babies when your kids are teenagers? You might not still. There are elements of that business that you might not enjoy. You have to convince large suppliers to take you on as a vendor. Well, they don't do that automatically. It takes some effort. It takes some skill to do that. Are you good at it? Do you enjoy doing something like that? Maybe you don't. And so they sort of they have good intentions, and it looks like you can make good money doing this particular thing. I guess I'll do SEO optimization. I'll start an SEO optimization business. Apparently those are really lucrative, but they never got walked through what the elements of that are and whether or not it actually would appeal to their personality type and their long-term interests. Do you want to, do you enjoy staying on top of all the latest changes in SEO? Some people do, right? I mean, some people do it for nothing. They're just fascinated by it and they do it for nothing. Fibonacci, A/B split testing stuff, where you do this granular analysis of the results of having a blue buy button versus a red buy button. Some people just love that stuff, but to other people, it's hell. So, you gotta find that North Star, and a lot of times just a little bit of counsel from somebody can go a long way.
Yeah. I've got a few more questions I wanted to ask you on a tactical basis and a lifestyle basis, Pete. Are you all right for time for 10 or 15 minutes?
Sure.
Cool. So really interested to know what some of your kind of go-to tools are at the moment for the various aspects of an online business. I noticed you use a wish list for membership site, which I've never heard of, but I had a look at it and it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, for a membership site, wish list members is the name of that plugin. Very robust. It's terrific. I use it on a couple of sites. I've used it for many years, and again, there are other tools for that, but that's a really good one, and I recommend it when people want to have a membership site. I just send them there. For years, for email, I used AWeber, and I recommended them, another 800-pound gorilla, real bulletproof service. But unfortunately, I found that they kind of rested on their laurels for too long. And a newer provider called ConvertKit is just hitting it out of the park with email. And it's the same money. Most of these email providers are about $30 a month, to get going. You can pay a lot more than that. And when you're starting out, you never should, because you don't get seduced by all the bells and whistles that these advanced providers can offer, because you're not going to need them when you're just getting started. You sort of need the minimum. But ConvertKit has the ability to sort of do the if this then that stuff with your list. So if a guy joins at this page, then put them on this sequence of emails. But when he's on that sequence, if he clicks on this link, then move him over to this other sequence and put a tag on him that says he's interested in being an expat. It does all this cool stuff so that you can really segment your list in an intelligent way, and they make it really easy. So I've been a convert to their system, and that's the one I recommend now. That's a great tool.
Cool. What other tools do you use?
If Connie was on the phone with us, she has a whole raft of things for social media, because she's the social media genius in the family. And I can't tell you what all of those are. I'm trying to think of other problems.
You mentioned lead pages. I saw a slide with lead pages on it. Do you use lead pages? Or
I do. Yeah. I've used lead pages for many years, and they have some very healthy competition. Right now we're recording this at a time when ClickFunnels is putting on a big push. I see their advertising everywhere, and from what I've looked at, they have a good product too. But I always remind people in the early stages, don't get seduced by the tools out there and the guy that's that's promising the cash flow volcano, because it kind of encourages you to take your eyes off the ball. What I like to encourage people to do is to go from zero to getting some cash flow, actually getting money coming in. And then when you've done that, you start to refine. And that's when you realize, I kind of got a crappy email capture system. Maybe I should get lead pages. That it's just, to me, it makes more sense. What I would tell a friend is, look, get all your fundamentals in place and start making some money, get some income coming in, and then just keep refining and improving. But I know people, I talked to somebody who was paying $500 a month for tools and didn't have any website yet or even an idea what niche they would go into.
Yeah. Sounds like I was in a similar position once.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are some pitfalls there. I know somebody that signed up with a very well-known website provider. Get your own domain. Come over here and get your domain. And they sold this guy, I think it was $900 a month in upsell of, we'll automatically do your SEO and we'll do all it. It's just like, Jesus. And it was just, to me, it's like just a couple rungs below a criminal enterprise to do that to a guy. Yeah. The guy just buys a domain and he's setting up an empty website, and you sell him a whole bunch of add-on stuff, and he doesn't know. He doesn't know. I don't know. I guess these guys know what they're doing. I guess I should buy this stuff. That's going to be the key, and it's not. It's like I say, I can't believe people do stuff like that with a clear conscience. But it happens all the time, and I was joking with a friend of mine that I had the poor judgment to not like the strength training and fitness business, because there's a lot of hype and sleaze in the fitness business, and so I transitioned into make money online, which you could argue is even worse. But the reality is that there are operations out there that are they take advantage of people's naivete and their ignorance of what you actually need. And it's one of the things I enjoy about having a low-cost membership. Right now, I can't promise it'll always be this price, but right now, what I offer is $47 a month. And it's just month to month. You can quit anytime you want. So there's, it's not, you'd see right away whether or not there was $47 of value in what you're being given. So it's the other end of the spectrum. I really am a believer in, just offer something that's really great value and people just can't wait to give you their money. That's a better model. And like I say, if you want to sleep well at night, offer something like that. Don't go with the latest hot thing that is a way to trick Google and, get higher, get more organic traffic because you figured out a way to trick Google. Because even if it works, Google's smarter than you are. And they'll find a way. I read that Google it employs more PhDs than any company on earth. So those tricks and hacks that are going to, bring you a flood of free traffic and yada, yada, even if they work, if it's some crappy way of exploiting Google's going to plug that hole. And then you're going to make zero money. So the long-term durable answer is to offer real value to people.
And to your point, I think, anyone's out there listening to this who is procrastinating, not really getting started, and has a passion for creating some sort of online business. It doesn't have to be high intensity training. It could be anything that you're interested in. And I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, Pete, but I honestly think it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, who doesn't have $47 a month to get, some really good, courses on how to build that and obviously some mentorship from you. I don't know if that's included in that package. But it's just, especially someone, so it's really, from my perspective, as someone who is interested in, who would no doubt, if I was starting again, start something within the kind of exercise niche, you've done that. You've actually created that business and now you're helping people do the process of creating their own. So it's like a double win from my perspective. So this is what really one of the reasons why I wanted to get you back on, because I just think that there's a group of people like in my listenership who would just get so much value from that and just get a kickstart. There's a couple of people that come to mind straight away, actually, a couple of my listeners who I've built relationships up with. Just, I guess, elaborating on some of the tools you use. Your website, the safelyleavetheRatRace.me, is that based on WordPress? It's just a really clean design. I just wondered how you built that website.
It is. It's WordPress, and I wish I could think of I wish I could think of the name of the theme offhand. Maybe there's something I can open up here and look at that. I should remember it because I'm in there fiddling around with it. And then that site is really an offshoot of the older site I created called ResilientPersonalFreedom.me, which is sort of the site where I have more. I have all the content over there that instead of the membership part, there's the content over there that brings people into my market. I like having a clean looking site, but it's if you notice too, it's HTTPS. It's at more secure protocol. And I happen to host that. Also, I host it on Icelandic servers just because I like to support. Now, I just like to give market support to the people who, and anybody who tries to protect individual privacy, and Iceland has tried to do that to the extent they can. They're a very small country. But because those Icelandic servers don't get cowed by the enemies of privacy. I support them by putting Safely Leave the Rat Race on on one of their servers.
I guess final couple of questions for you, Pete. I'm really interested in kind of the way you kind of manage, I guess, finances, because we're in quite a similar position, both living in Ireland at the moment. But am I right in saying that you wouldn't be a resident in Ireland because I think it's 180 days you've got to be in Ireland to be classed as a resident, and then have to obviously pay tax locally and all of that? Do you fit that category, or are you not going to be here long enough to?
I'll answer that, but first I'm going to tell you, because I just looked it up. The theme over there at Safely Leave the Rat Race is the Impreza theme. IMPREZA, or ZA, as you would say. Impreza is the name of that theme, and that's a great theme. It's really flexible. It's easy to learn. So that's another thing that I recommend. Lots of great themes out there, but that one is very powerful and easy to learn. So here's the thing about Ireland. This is actually a departure for us. I said that my wife and I traveled for 10 years. And in those 10 years, we always paid attention to what the residency limitations were, and also what the tax implications were of staying too long in any one place. And so we moved around a lot to basically always fall under the category of being a tourist for all those years. I have two citizenships, one that I got a couple of years ago, and we are actually living here in Ireland for the required number of years, which is 5 years, so that we can gain citizenship. So it'll be a second citizenship for my wife, and it'll be a third one for me. And that's we're doing that very deliberately, because we'd like to have Irish citizenship that also provides EU citizenship. And having that in your back pocket can only be a positive thing, as I see it. As I say, that mobility is the new wealth, and it gives us a lot more. It gives us a lot more mobility, and will continue to for the rest of our lives, and might not, in fact, be the last citizenship that either one of us gets. So that's what we're doing.
Cool. So what about in things like exchange fees and spending money? How do you optimize for? I'm really interested in this because I take dollars into PayPal most often, and I'm always trying to figure out how can I obviously pay the least in terms of exchange fees and things like that. Right. So how do you optimize for stuff like that?
PayPal is actually a very good choice. In fact, you might not be aware that PayPal, when you use your PayPal, debit card, they have a MasterCard program. I don't know if you have one of those.
No idea about that. No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, they do. And so you have a PayPal account, and then you have a MasterCard that is attached to that account. And it's an ATM card. So you can go to a bank in Hong Kong or Bangkok or wherever and pull out local currency. And you pay. PayPal charges you like sort of no fee on that. You always get nicked a little bit on the actual exchange rate. You never get that global, exact exchange rate. They always make a percentage or two on that. But other than that, they don't charge you any fee. And to get that same deal from HSBC, you have to have $100,000 or 100,000 pounds on deposit with them.
That's nuts.
Just to get the deal that PayPal gives you, gives anybody. So that's pretty remarkable. So that is a good choice. And then I don't know if you do anything in cryptocurrencies or if you're interested in that.
I am interested in it, though.
Yeah, that's worth looking into, because the world of cryptocurrency is getting very exciting. And they issue cards. Let me see. It really doesn't identify much on here. It says Visa. It's called a Visa prepaid card, it says, but it's a chip and pin. unlike many American cards these days that still don't have the chip and pin. So you have a Visa, what is essentially a debit card, or they call it a prepaid card. It's got a chip and pin. You could buy anything you wanted online. You could go into a store and use it.
So long as they accept cryptocurrency, though, right?
No. So long as they accept Visa.
Oh, I see. Oh, cool.
So you can use this. I have a card in my hand, and you could go to an ATM machine in Bangkok and take out 5,000 baht, and that my account is debited in Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
And that's there's a whole new world coming in what's going to happen with not just with Bitcoin, but with the blockchain and with smart contracts. It's like a whole other, I'm not a technical expert on it, but I'm absolutely fascinated by that whole technology, because it's another one that is going to empower the individual.
Yeah.
It's another thing that makes the individual, just gets them a little closer to being untouchable by coercive forces. And particularly if you can have, essentially, you can have money, or on that USB drive, that thumb drive that I talked about. Lots of it. As much as you want, and you can even, with some of those cryptocurrencies, you can have it in a form where actually it's not, nobody knows you have it. It's pretty powerful stuff.
No, it's very cool. I'm interested in potentially dabbling in that. Like, where do you suggest people start with cryptocurrency, and in terms of like destination websites, whatever? But also, what is your strategy? What do you do? I mean, I don't know if you even recommend this sort of stuff to people, but like, I guess from a percentage point of view, like, how much would you suggest someone put into cryptocurrency and that type of thing?
First of all, the cryptocurrency world is kind of divided into two sections. One is Americans and non-Americans. Unfortunately, I'm not an American. I lived there for 20 years, and I sound more American than anything else, but I'm actually not an American citizen. But if you are, it's much harder to enjoy the benefits of cryptocurrency. You can open up an account. It's just that the advantage, all those advantages of privacy are always stripped away for Americans. So everybody else, and in fact, those debit cards are that I talked about. I think they're much harder to get for Americans than they are for everybody else. They can still go to a place like Coinbase and set up an account. It's just that it'll be a lot like setting up a real bank account, and they'll know exactly who you are and how much money you have, and they'll know all your business. But there are exchanges that aren't as invasive, and some people use those. So like I say, I'm not an expert. I don't have real technical expertise on that. I wouldn't presume to tell somebody what portion of their portfolio should be in cryptocurrency. I think it's very exciting for its ability to empower the individual. And if that's a theme that people care about, I would encourage them to drill down a bit on cryptocurrency, because there are so many elements to it that will absolutely positively improve people's ability to be just a little more autonomous. ultimately, I hope, a lot more autonomous.
Yeah, and I think Tim Ferriss did a great podcast on this with Naval Ravikant, who's a founder of AngelList, and they interviewed this chap whose name I can't remember, but it's a very, very good, comprehensive show on cryptocurrency. I started listening to it, but I need to finish it. But I know it's gone absolutely viral. So I say viral is probably a strong word, but it's very popular. So I'll be sure to link to that for people that want to find out more. Is that, in my opinion, is probably one of the better places to start, just in terms of like definitions and the very basics, and then suggestions on where to go from there. Pete, this has been really interesting. Thank you for taking the time. And sorry we had a few technical issues during the recording.
Right. I hope those end up being seamless in the recording. But we did drop away from each other for a few minutes there. But I hope all's well that ends well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that people get to this part of the show and be like, "Did you? I didn't know this." That's how seamless I hope we can make it. But
right, exactly.
we'll do the best we can, and it'll be fine. And for everyone listening, to find the links, resources, and show notes, everything that Pete has mentioned, please, for this episode and all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.org. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Before you head off, head on over to corpwarrior.com to get your free ebook with 6 interview transcripts of some of my top guests, including Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Bill DeSimone, on how to optimize muscle gain, fat loss, and overall health in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. These transcripts are not verbatim, deliberately. Instead, they've been transcribed in an easy read format to make it more enjoyable and easier for you to quickly pick out what you need and start getting results. To get your ebook, head on over to corpwarrior.com, that's CORP warrior.com, and enter your email address. Then check your email for an email from me with a confirmation link. Once you click the link, you will be instantly redirected to a PDF version of the transcripts. This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I've ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity training trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and how you can get $1,000 off software licensing when you place an order, that's right guys, $1,000 off, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $1,000 off software licensing when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. This podcast is brought to you by hituni.com. Hituni.com are a provider of amazing online courses for high-intensity training qualifications. HitUni comes highly recommended by the best in the field, including Body by Science co-author Dr. Doug McGuff, Discover Strength CEO Luke Carlson, and trainer and founder of Bay.com, Drew Bay. It was founded by my friend, author, and longtime personal trainer Simon Shawcross, who's also been a guest on the podcast. Simon has 15 years experience training clients and has supervised over 15,000 high-intensity training workouts. Using knowledge from experts like Skylar Tanner, Dr. James Steele, Dr. Ellington Darden, HitUni is a goldmine for learning everything to do with high-intensity training. The courses are delivered online through the website, where you can learn via a variety of multimedia materials at your own pace. There's online support and a discussion forum where you can share ideas and ask for help. To learn more about high-intensity training and improve my own results, I started their personal trainer course. The content is amazing, the courses are really easy to follow, and each section is organized into bite-sized chunks that give you a real sense of achievement after you complete each one. I should also mention there is a DIY course. So this is the course for you if you're not necessarily a personal trainer, but you want to learn more about high intensity training and how to implement it for maximum benefit in your own exercise regime. To get your exclusive Corporate Warrior 10% discount on any course you purchase, simply head on over to hituni.com, that's hituni.com, and enter the coupon code CW10, that's CW and the number 10. So again, head on over to hituni.com, pick your course and enter the coupon code CW10 for 10% discount. Thank you for your support.